Let's get going. Hello, and I hope everyone is having a great Thursday so far. My name is Mark Baston. I'd like to welcome each of you to the Man Group's summer series of free webinars. Today's webinar is titled Selection, Motivation, and Discipline, Parts 5 and 6 of the 7 Steps to Manager Success. Sure glad you're with us today. In about 47 seconds, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dan Mann, but before I do, let me go over a few items. First, I want to make sure everyone can see the presentation properly before we get started. On your screen right now, you should see a pretty picture of a path leading to a beach. Let me know if you don't see this picture. Secondly, on your control panel near the bottom, you should see the word chat, and if you'll click on this tab, it'll open a dialog box for you to submit questions or offer comments. Lastly, just so we don't have any background noise, we do have everyone muted during the presentation. So if you have any questions that you would like answered, please just type them in the chat portion of your control panel, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. Again, we welcome you, and now I'd like to turn it over to the founder and owner of the Man Group, Dan Mann.
Thanks, Mark. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you're calling in from. We certainly welcome you to our continuing series on the 7 Secrets to Management Success. Yeah, man, I tell you, looking at this picture, I kind of wish I was on that beach right now. Good selection, and by the way, happy Labor Day weekend. Looking forward to getting into this topic today. This is a big one. We are part of a continuing series, 7 Secrets. Let's take a quick moment in case you've missed any of this and review what we've looked at thus far. The 7 Secrets to Management Success. This is part of our ongoing series in our commitment to retail management excellence. In case you missed our first week, the very first topic we talked about as a retail store manager, your steps are setting the bar, creating the standard that you want to have everyone perform at. Next, we looked at evaluating the activity against the standard. So once we know what we want, how's your team actually performing against that standard? So managing activity. Next, we looked at removing obstacles. What is it that causes people to underperform? What is it that causes your team to not accomplish what you set out? So identifying and removing obstacles to high performance. Last week, we talked about how to get buy-in, how to get your team on board, how to get them really bought in and excited and fully committed to the goal. That brings us to today's 2 topics, staff selection, motivation, and discipline. Looking forward to getting into that in just a minute. Next week, we'll conclude our series with communication effectiveness. We believe the #1 most effective, most important tool for a retail store manager, communication effectiveness. Today, we're back to our actual topics, staff selection, motivation, and discipline. I feel a little bit like this guy today. We've got 18 hours worth of material we're going to try to squeeze into 20 minutes. But we can do it. And with a little bit of effort, we're going to be able to get some good material that you'll be able to, I think, take back to your store and use. Let's don't be overwhelmed by it, although it's a good-looking picture. Let's get started with staff selection, a topic near and dear to our heart. When you're picking out the people that work for you, oftentimes we make decisions based on some of the wrong things, and we make then hiring decisions that end up coming back to cause us problems. Typically, we frequently will hire someone who's an enthusiast. If you're a running store, you find someone that was a good runner in college, or they've got a pretty good 5K time. Or maybe you go out and you hire someone who looks, acts, and sounds just like you. Man, just a spitting image of who you are, so you're very attracted to have them in your team. And so, yeah, if they're like me, they're bound to be good. So I'll hire people just like me. Or perhaps we find someone who is technically proficient. You run a bike store, and this guy really knows how to work on bikes, and he's good at it. Let's get him hired. That would be perfect. That seems to be our strategy. Or maybe we know someone who used to work in another running store in a different city, or they've been in the outdoor industry for a while. That tends to be our basis for hiring. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, now, what's wrong with that? Well, the problem can be with the enthusiast that a person, maybe they're looking for discounts on product, and since they're an enthusiast, they want the Saturdays and Sundays off to go run or ride or camp. If it's a mirror image, well, maybe you have hired all the people that look and act just like you to the detriment of people that aren't just like you, but could be really interested in your product. That's a concern. Technically proficient staff doesn't necessarily equate to great retail excellence. And so it's crucial that you take the better selection criteria and process for selecting a better quality person for retail. And what does that look like? I think you want to hire people who are outgoing. I think you want to hire energetic people. You want to hire someone who is a good listener. I can tell you, I've been to too many retail stores where the sales associate knows so much and they can't wait to tell me all about it, and yet I never get a word in edgewise. I don't feel like buying from that person. I want a good listener taking care of me. I want someone who is curious about people. When that doorbell goes off and a new customer walks in the door, I want my staff moving toward that person, going, hey, what brings you in here today? It's good to see you. I want someone curious. That's a good skill set. I want people that are fun. I like working on my team with people that I enjoy working with. We need to have staff members who are service-oriented. We are a service industry. Yes, there are sales that go on, but this is a service industry. And so it's important that you find people that like serving. And then finally, we must hire with a certain degree of diversity. Now, I am not necessarily talking only about racial diversity here. I'm talking about gender diversity, age diversity, and one issue of diversity that we don't often consider, and that's experience. If you're a bike shop, it would be nice to have some people on your sales floor who are just getting into cycling. Maybe they aren't a 20-year veteran and they've been to the tour a half a dozen times and they've ridden in every 24-hour race on the East Coast. This is a person who's just getting started. And sometimes as a customer, I like to work with people who aren't so intimidating in their experience. These are good criteria for selecting. Now, I can tell you, if you hire badly, it's going to cost you. Too many of us feel that if we hire, if we make a bad hire, well, no harm, no foul. You know, we'll let them work out their 2 weeks, or we'll let them work out a little time, and then we can just let them go later. Or, you know, they're not really costing us. And I want you to understand that when you hire the wrong person, they cost you in dollars and cents. This graph is chilling. If you're hiring someone at $10 an hour, you work them for 2 weeks, look at what they cost you in 2 weeks. $6,800. The upset customer there and halfway down, that's a customer who your sales associate works with them and then doesn't buy. For whatever reason, he doesn't do a good job, he's talking too much, he doesn't know what he's doing, and as a result, the customer is upset and leaves and does not purchase. Now, for this graph, I've used $450, which is about the average price of a bicycle sale these days. So if you're a bike store, this is your number. I came in to buy a bike from you. Your bad employee took care of me, and I didn't like what he did. I left the store. I spent my $450 elsewhere, not in your store. But guess what? If I didn't like what happened in your store, I'm not going to stop there. Statistically, I'm going to tell 10 potential customers, you don't want to go to that bike shop. I don't like those guys at all. Those 10 customers will take my advice and go elsewhere, costing me $4,500. Over the course of 1 year, a bad hire can cost you $176,000. These aren't fictitious dollars. These are hard dollars. Now, if you're an owner or you're a store manager and you're looking at this number, you're probably thinking what I'm thinking. This number's a bit low. It could be far, far worse. Hiring the wrong person costs us dollars and cents, and so it's crucial that we pick the right selection criteria and know exactly who we're looking for to have in our store. Now, oftentimes, when it comes to selection, we don't often think of the 3 different categories we need to be selecting from. So as you consider hiring, you should consider evaluating your candidate across 3 different categories. 33% of your decision should be based on people skills. 33% of your decision should be based on the technical skills. And 33% of your decision should be based on their ability to make a commitment. Now, these 3 criteria are crucial. Oftentimes, we hire people who have great people skills, and they have the good technical skills, but they don't have a history of commitment. Now, they're great on your floor. They're good at what they do. People love having them. But as soon as another better job comes along, they're gone. And that 90-day or 180-day career in your business oftentimes can be very damaging to you. In fact, I've known some stores that hire a person, let them go, or they leave, they find another job, we hire them back, they come back for a few months, they go find another job, they come back. These things are pretty tricky and can actually cost you problems. Conversely, I've seen folks hire sales associates who are great with the technical skills, good with a history of commitment, but don't have the people skills to join a team. These categories can cost you. You need all three skills, all three categories to be effective. So what are the retail technical skills? If you were going to be a chemist, you would be able to know what the technical skills were. If you're a machinist or a welder, you know what the technical skills are. What are the retail technical skills? Here they are. Excellent communication and interpersonal skills. A good standard of IT and numbers. Effective influencing and negotiation skills. Strong customer focus. That's huge. Ability to work under pressure and to tight deadlines. Analyzing and problem solving. Commercial awareness. Flexibility. That's a big one for retail. Strong time management skills. Attention to detail and demonstrate leadership and management qualities. This is what we're looking for. This is the technical skills that you need to have an excellent retail sales associate. Next, that brings us to how to interview, how to actually go through the process of selecting someone. Well, this is so complicated, I'm going to have to tell you this. You need to come to Man U if you want to learn how to do that. This would take us hours. The interviewing, more mistakes are made in interviewing than I could possibly recount here. And the tactics and the skill set for excellent interviewing are refined and require some practice on your part. So if you're into interviewing and you have to do a lot of selection, I highly encourage you to sign up for Man U. I can't get into it on this webinar to be very effective. So I'm going to move on to our next topic for the day, and I apologize. This is one of those big topics on our blackboard behind me that I just can't get to today. Motivation and discipline, and one of my favorite coaches, Tom Landry from the old Dallas Cowboys. Motivation is a psychological feature that arouses an organism to act towards a desired goal and elicits controls and sustains certain goal-directed behaviors. From none other than a higher source than Wikipedia. Motivation arouses and causes action, moves people toward behaviors. Motivation, man, if we could figure out what motivates, right? Well, I love Tom Landry's quote here. Leadership is getting someone to do what they don't want to do to achieve what they want to achieve. Hey, everybody wants to win the Super Bowl. You know, everybody wants to go out and beat the top teams and win the Super Bowl. Here are two great coaches in the NFL: John Harbaugh of the Super Bowl winning Baltimore Ravens, and Rob Chudzinski from the cellar-dwelling Cleveland Browns. I hope there are no Cleveland fans out there. Two great coaches, or I should say, two coaches in the NFL. There is a difference between these two. Every football coach is probably saying the same thing. You think that these two guys have different approaches to blocking, tackling, running, getting in shape, throwing, and catching? No. They're probably saying the same things. Great coaches get people to do those things. It's in getting behavior change that there's beauty, that there's motivation, that there's change. And that's where you win the game. Hey, every doctor is telling their patients to lose weight, stop smoking, eat better. You know what? It's the great doctors that can get people to do it. That's motivation and discipline. Well, you're probably asking yourself, how do you do it? What is the secret to get people to do what you want? As a retail store manager, here are your magic 4 words: gentle pressure, relentlessly applied. It is in consistency. It is in never letting up. It is in working with your team on the same topics again and again and again. That consistency is what brings about change. That is what motivates and disciplines people into better behavior that actually serves you well. Now, in my first retail store, I inherited a business that was a little sloppy. Well, it was a lot sloppy. The store did not look crisp, it was not well maintained, and the staff was lazy and had a series of bad behaviors. And in my first day, I tried to get people to help me with store cleaning, with putting out product and taking care of customers, and I was having a difficult time doing that. On my second day, I came into the store and I announced that I wanted people to help me with a to-do list. And I wrote a list of things that I wanted to have everyone accomplish in the course of the day. There were some store maintenance issues, cleaning the bathroom, cleaning the windows, vacuuming, dusting, folding product, working with displays. And I wrote that list out and I taped it onto the cash wrap right by the register where only the staff could see it. And throughout the day, I told staff members to go check the to-do list, pick a job, and do it. And then I would, if there was something selected by a staff member, I would go grab the staff member, walk them over to the job that they said that they had done, had checked off, and one of two things: either, "Hey, good job. I like the way you did that. Thank you so much for taking that project. It looks really good." Or I said, "Hey, this is not exactly what I was looking for. Let me have you correct this error or this error. Let's do this differently." But I consistently put the to-do list out and followed up. A side benefit was that throughout the day, as staff gathered at the cash wrap, well, I would walk up to the cash wrap and go, "Oh, folks, we're up here to get a new item off the to-do list. Great, let's see. What are you picking, Bill? What are you picking, Trish? What are you taking, Jim? Super, everybody get started. Let's go. Good job. I'm glad you're up here looking at the to-do list." And by consistently writing that to-do list and by consistently following up on the to-do list, guess what happened in about 7 days? People began to expect the to-do list. We had a clean store. Everybody stayed busy. And the net result of that was a more disciplined, more satisfied, more motivated staff. What are the opportunities in your store for gentle pressure relentlessly applied? And that is the secret to success there. It's up to you to stay disciplined and maintained. Before we offer you the opportunity for questions, and I'll remind you, you can type in any questions in the chat box. We'd love to address any specific questions that you have. A quick reminder about Mann University, which is coming up October 7th, 8th, and 9th in beautiful Asheville, North Carolina. We have an outstanding list of retailers and manufacturers who are scheduled to join us. We've got a great program and a great group of people coming in from around the country and Canada to join us for Mann U. We are addressing leadership and profitability from the retail store manager position. It's a solid workshop, and it is solid material, one-of-a-kind program that I invite all of you to consider. If you'd like to know more about it, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll tell you more about Mann University in October. For now, we've got some good time here dedicated to some questions, and for that, Mark, I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah, we have some good questions, Dan. The first question: should I constantly spend time interviewing?
Well, yeah. As a matter of fact, I have found that just when I get my retail store set up, just like I've got my staff built, seems like someone resigns or something changes in someone's life. And just when I expect to have everything put together, well, I've missed my opportunity. And now I need to go hire some more people. If I'm hiring because I need to hire, I'm motivated to hire quickly. Hiring quickly is the single biggest mistake you can make. You want to hire thoroughly and hire with the right selection. So yes, I think you're always recruiting. I think you're always interviewing and always, I think, looking for the right people. One thing that I think causes us a little bit of a problem, is our staff who don't think that we need to be looking for more people. They want more hours. And so I actually have a personal story where I applied to my very first retail job. I walked in and I walked up to a woman who was working. I said, "Yes, I'd like to apply for a job." And she said, "You're looking for full or part-time?" I said, "Doesn't really matter either way." She said, "Well, actually, we're not hiring right now." And so I said, "Well, thank you." And I turned to walk out of the store. Well, as I was making my way out, I looked at a little tap on my shoulder, and the manager of the store had chased me down. And he said, "Did I hear you say you were applying for work?" And I said, "Yeah, I was applying, trying to get a job." He brought me back in, interviewed me, and he did hire me. Now, 5 years later, having been a manager, district manager, regional manager, buyer, I became the vice president and ran that company for 11 years. Now, I'm not bragging, but I would say that company would have lost the opportunity to have someone who turned out to be a pretty good contributor just because an assistant manager said, "Hey, we're not hiring right now." And I think you got to be cautious about turning anyone away if they happen to be the right person. They're just showing up at the wrong time. I still think we got to begin or continue the interview process throughout. Next question.
Question number 2. How do I determine the skills you listed in an interview?
Well, good question. The way we would, there's one way not to do it. Don't ask the candidate to tell you. Do you believe in being at work on time? Are you good with people? Do you think it's good to be committed to a job? No. Theoretical, philosophical questions have no place in an interview. Your interview should instead be focused on past behavior, because past performance is the best predictor of future performance. So you want the person you're interviewing to give you specific examples of past behaviors, specific, exact instances of things they actually did, where their conversations with you during the interview are them telling you the actual specific things that happened, the date, the time, the place, the people. Everything as specific as possible so you can determine the past performance. That's the secret, not in asking philosophical questions, which you should ignore.
I think we've got time for one more question, Dan. Last question. Do you think a commission-based compensation model is an effective motivator?
Well, I may make a few of you cringe with my answer, but yes, I do happen to like um, commission-based compensation. I like incentive pay. Now, the reason why you're cringing is you go, well, it causes bad behavior. It makes people competitive. Then it makes for a bad sales floor. Yes, I would agree. If you've hired badly and you've got competitive people who aren't thinking about the customer first, then yes, you might have a competitive floor. So I would say that incentive-based compensation is very good if, you have a giant if here, if you've hired well. If you have hired a great team of quality individuals who are customer focused and service oriented, then an incentive based plan actually can make for a very productive payroll. I have personally operated a commission based program compensation in every management environment I've ever operated, and I really prefer it. Even though I recognize most of you on the call here may not have it, I think it's a good incentive if you've hired well. Thanks for the question.
All right. Well, if you think of a question later, please feel free to contact me. I'll be sending out a 5-question survey later this afternoon, so you'll have all my contact information handy. And keep in mind, put on your calendar, next Friday, September 6th, we'll finish with step 7, the most important step of management success. I'll be sending out an email with registration info a little bit later today or tomorrow. Hey, thanks again for your time. We hope everyone has a great day and a fantastic Labor Day weekend. Just below the star, you'll see our YouTube link. If you take that and go to it, you'll see all of our webinars that we've recorded, and so you can refer back to them. But again, thanks a lot and have a fantastic day.